A profound concept often overlooked is the power of strategic unavailability, a skill that can fundamentally reshape your interactions and personal peace. Have you ever noticed how some individuals exert an almost mystical influence over their surroundings, not by clamoring for attention, but by a subtle withdrawal that leaves others in a state of quiet disarray? Imagine if you possessed this same ability to step back, to choose silence over an instant reaction, to retreat instead of exploding. What kind of transformation would unfold in your life? The truth is, when you cease being perpetually physically, psychologically, the world around you experiences a jolt. People, accustomed to manipulating you through your predictable responses, find themselves adrift the moment you choose a different path. As Carl Jung wisely stated, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves. So, consider this. When you become less available, who truly becomes agitated, who strives to provoke a reaction from you? Their discomfort reveals more about their own reliance on your availability than it does about you. It exposes the threads of manipulation you might unwittingly still be entangled in, as you relentlessly strive to please, maintain superficial harmony, or cling to relationships that were never truly reciprocal. With every coerced yes, every impulsive response, every emotional overreaction, you relinquish a piece of your vital energy, ultimately leaving you drained, frustrated, and inexplicably hollow. This depletion stems from being overly accessible to those who don't deserve even a moment of your precious silence. This isn't a call to isolation, but rather an invitation to prioritize yourself, to embark on what Jung termed individuation, the journey of becoming whole and authentic. This profound process commences when you grasp that silence can be more potent than 1,000 arguments, and that a conscious withdrawal, born of awareness rather than evasion, is a powerful act of self-assertion. So, I ask you, looking deep within, how much longer will you permit the emotions of others to dictate your reactions? Is it not time to sever those strings, to withdraw, to embrace an enigmatic presence? Because when you stop being endlessly available, everything undeniably changes. If you're nodding along, if a chord has been struck, then I urge you to delve deeper. Click the link in the pinned comment. There, you'll uncover resources that can guide you on this transformative path, offering the tools to reclaim your power and achieve the inner peace you deserve. From childhood, we are meticulously conditioned to equate our self-worth with our level of availability to others, taught to always be present, to respond swiftly, to appease, to utter yes even when our inner voice screams no. Yet, here's a stark truth rarely spoken with such clarity. This excessive availability is not a virtue, it is a cage. As long as you believe you must be constantly accessible, you will remain susceptible to manipulation, emotional depletion, and eventual discard once your utility wanes. Why? Because perpetual availability renders you predictable, and anything predictable becomes a mere instrument. People begin to wield you as an emotional emergency button, pressing it for attention, solace, or validation, only to return you to the shelf when their immediate need is met. You remain oblivious to this pattern, ensnared in the delusion that constant presence for others will somehow guarantee their presence for you. A fallacy. Carl Jung introduced the concept of the persona, the carefully constructed mask we wear to gain acceptance, love, and recognition. It is this very persona that fuels your over-availability. You declare "I'm fine" even when you're suffocating. You respond to messages instantly despite profound exhaustion. You endlessly explain, justify, and defend yourself as if indebted to the world. But the more you position yourself as the centerpiece of others' narratives, the more you vanish from your own being. Constant availability is a subtle form of self-abandonment, a disguised pursuit of approval, an evasion of rejection, a desperate attempt to control how others perceive you. But this control exacts a steep price. Your tranquility, your finite vital energy, scattered indiscriminately. Those who demand your constant availability don't truly desire you. They crave what you provide: validation, companionship, distraction, emotional solace. When you shift, when you establish a boundary, when you refuse to react, these same individuals become irate, leveling accusations, labeling you weird. It's not because you've changed, but because you've ceased being their convenient utility. And here's the most bitter pill. The more available you are, the less value others assign to you, for what is overly abundant becomes emotionally worthless. No one respects what they haven't had to earn. No one cherishes what is perpetually present. So, pause and reflect. Who genuinely merits your time, your attention, your presence, your attentive ear? Or, perhaps more profoundly, who deserves your absence? Before you answer, we must grasp a fundamental truth. Why do we react so intensely? Why do we surrender so effortlessly? What propels this almost automatic urge to respond, justify, and please? The answer lies in what Jung termed psychic energy, a topic we will delve into. Your energy is your most precious asset, and if you fail to safeguard it, others will inevitably exploit it against you. Carl Jung did not perceive the human psyche as a mere automatic mechanism that reacts to stimuli without repercussions. For him, our mind functions as an intricate energy system, where every thought, emotion, and action consumes a portion of that energy. The crucial question is, are you consciously directing where your energy flows, or are you permitting the world to decide for you? Each time you react impulsively, you squander psychic energy. When you vehemently defend yourself against a criticism that merited no attention, when you engage in a provocation merely to prove a point, when you become entangled in futile disputes, when you tirelessly strive to please those who undervalue you, you are dissipating your inner strength on endeavors that offer no nourishment. Jung unequivocally stated that that which you resist persists. The more you react, the more inextricably bound you become. Individuals who live in a state of emotional exhaustion are not weak. They are simply misdirected, and what before someone perpetually drained, they become vulnerable. When you are vulnerable, you become easy prey for manipulative, opportunistic, and emotionally demanding individuals. They intuitively sense your inability to guard your energy, your tendency to react to everything, your perpetual desire to fix the world, and they shamelessly exploit it. Jung maintained that a healthy psyche is one that adeptly conserves energy within its system. This translates to the ability to decline without guilt, to embrace silence without feeling cowardly, to observe judiciously before acting. True power resides not in reaction, but in the conscious choice of when and how to act, a capability only attainable when you possess sufficient self-awareness to recognize your own impulses. How many sleepless nights have you endured over an unresolved conversation? How many hours have you spent ruminating on what you should have said, or obsessing over why someone treated you poorly? This is energy draining away without recompense. You are sustaining specters that should have long since dissipated, fueling dynamics that persist solely because of your insistence on engagement. Psychic energy is akin to a force field. When meticulously guarded, it cultivates presence. You enter a room and command respect without uttering a single word. Conversely, when carelessly managed, you become invisible, reactive, fragile, and the world offers no leniency to those who easily capitulate. Therefore, begin to observe your own triggers. What causes you to react automatically? What causes you to lose your equilibrium? These are precisely the points where your energy dissipates, and these are the areas requiring your attention not to become cold or indifferent, but to become discerning, to become sovereign over your own being. And here emerges one of Jung's most profound revelations. When you conserve your energy, you dismantle the projections others cast upon you, and this creates considerable discomfort. For now, we venture into the murky terrain of silent manipulation. In the next segment, we will uncover how opportunistic individuals feed off your energy, and why your unavailability completely disarms these insidious games. Prepare yourself to gaze directly into the eyes of those who have perpetually drained you, often without your awareness. You may believe you are in control, that your reactions are conscious choices, but the truth is far more unsettling. The majority of your emotional responses are deeply ingrained, and those who comprehend this can manipulate you with unsettling ease. Opportunistic individuals do not need to raise their voices, issue threats, or coerce situations. They merely need to trigger the emotional buttons you've inadvertently left exposed, and you, predictably, react. Carl Jung termed this projection, the psychological mechanism through which individuals externalize onto others what they cannot acknowledge within themselves. Yet, there's another facet to this phenomenon that often goes unnoticed. While others project onto you, you simultaneously become the receptacle for these images, and the more emotionally available you are, the more you transform into a blank canvas for these projections. Consider that friend who only reaches out during a crisis, that partner who invariably needs you to rescue their day, that acquaintance who showers you with praise only as long as you serve their purpose. None of this is coincidental. They are not genuinely engaging with you. They are engaging with the idea of you, with the role you willingly assume. And why do you agree to this? Because you harbor a profound fear of disappointing, a dread of not being loved, a terror of abandonment. The most potent manipulation does not manifest in shouted demands. It unfolds in the silent realm of guilt, when you feel an inexplicable obligation to others, when you believe you must be available, must assist, must understand, even if it hollows you out from within. And here lies the crux. The manipulator doesn't need to control you directly. They simply need you to persist in reacting in the same predictable manner. But when you cease reacting, the game shatters. When you begin to say no, to respond with silence, to withdraw instead of offering endless explanations, the projections begin to crumble. The mask they imposed upon you falls away, leaving them profoundly unsettled, for they no longer recognize who you are. The contemporary world is a cacophony of noise. Everyone clamors to be heard, to respond instantly, to triumph in trivial debates, to prove their point, even at the cost of their own inner peace. Yet, there exists a power understood by few and mastered by even fewer. The power of silence. Not the silence born of passivity or cowardice, but conscious, strategic, brutally lucid silences. Silence that is not an absence, but an amplified presence. Jung viewed silence not as a void, but as fertile ground for profound inner transformation. When you cease reacting, you begin to observe, and through observation, you discern patterns that previously escaped your notice. Emotional repetitions, manipulative games, self-sabotaging cycles. Silence cultivates lucidity, and lucidity is perilous for those who thrive on controlling you. Have you observed the panic that seizes some individuals when you don't immediately respond? When you offer no explanation, when you simply vanish? It's not because they miss you. It's because your silence wrests away their narrative control. While you speak, you remain within their game. But when you embrace silence, you fundamentally alter the rules, unsettling anyone whose existence depends on your reaction. True silence is not the absence of voice. It is mastery over one's own energy. It is the resolute refusal to be swept away by another's emotional turmoil. It is the conscious decision not to engage in battles unworthy of your precious energy. Jung asserted that individuation, the intricate process of becoming your authentic self, necessitates this distancing, because only in silence can you truly listen to your own voice, unadulterated by the world's incessant interference. But do not be deluded. Silence comes with a price. It will alienate you from those who valued you solely for the role you played. It will render you incomprehensible to those who perceived you only through the lens of their own projections. It may cause you to appear cold, aloof, arrogant. Yet, all of this is merely a reaction from those who never wished to engage with your depth, only with your utility. And here is the harsh truth. The more you mature, the more discerning you become with your words, for you comprehend that each sentence is an energetic investment, and not everyone merits access to your truth. Sometimes, silence is not retreat, it is sovereignty. It is the language of those who no longer feel the need to prove anything to anyone. Silence is inherently uncomfortable because it compels the other to confront their own thoughts, their own internal cacophony. And this discomfort reveals more about them than any argument you could ever present. You are under no obligation to explain your absence. It explains itself. And those who feel threatened by it merely expose their dependence on your emotional imbalance to maintain their own precarious control. However, the most profound silence is not the one that unnerves others. It is the silence that meticulously reconstructs you from within, the silence that connects you to something far beyond external validation. It is within this sacred internal space, liberated from the demands of others, that you begin to reclaim your vital energy, to reconnect with your authentic essence. And this is precisely what we will discuss next, for it is insufficient merely to eliminate external noise. You must relearn how to consciously harness your energy to choose where it flows, where it remains, and, most importantly, where it should never be squandered. It is time to cultivate selectivity with your very soul. If you find yourself in the midst of reclaiming your energy and establishing boundaries, I highly recommend my book, Beyond the Shadow. It illuminates Jung's most pivotal insights and provides practical tools to safeguard your energy, establish healthy boundaries, and reconnect with your true self. The link is conveniently located in the pinned comment. Understanding all of this intellectually is futile if, in practice, you persist in saying yes when you mean no, responding to bothersome messages, engaging in empty conversations, and clinging to relationships that exist purely out of inertia. Awareness devoid of action is merely another form of self-deception. True transformation begins with a firm decision to become selective, and this demands unwavering emotional discipline. Conscious unavailability is not about being cold, arrogant, or indifferent. It is about no longer being accessible to anyone at any time, for any reason. It is about seizing control of your own energy, your own time, your own peace. And this journey commences with small, deliberate actions, refraining from immediate responses, taking a deep breath before reacting, disengaging from a discussion, before being dragged into chaos, guiltlessly turning off your phone, uttering "not today," declaring "I'm not interested," or stating "I won't get involved." But here is the most crucial element. You are under no obligation to justify your absence. You are not required to explain your silence. You owe nothing to anyone but yourself. And for many, this is an unforgivable stance, for when you refuse to explain yourself, you strip away their power to confine you within an emotional narrative where you are perpetually the helpful, understanding, accessible one. Carl Jung recognized that every process of individuation necessarily traverses a period of isolation, not a depressive isolation, but a sacred one, a time of inner retreat where you relearn to heed your own voice, unmarred by the world's ceaseless interference, where you reconstruct your identity not based on the gaze of others, but from your own immutable core. To gauge your evolution, observe who begins to distance themselves when you become more reserved. Observe who attempts to provoke you when you cease reacting. Observe who accuses you of having changed when you finally begin to protect yourself. These are not indicators that you are in error. They are irrefutable proof that you have begun to liberate yourself. Being unavailable is initially uncomfortable. You will experience guilt, you will fear being selfish, you will hear accusations of being too harsh. But this is an inherent part of the deconstruction process. You have spent your entire existence conditioned to prioritize others. It is natural for such a profound shift to elicit discomfort, not only within you, but within everyone who benefited from your former self. Conscious unavailability forms the bedrock of self-determination. The individuals who experience discomfort with your absence reveal that they never truly desired you. They desired the role you played. And now that you no longer fit neatly into their predetermined mold, they are bewildered. This realization is profoundly liberating. You will lose certain people, but in doing so, you will discover yourself. You will distance yourself from certain environments, but you will reconnect with your deepest essence. You will be misunderstood by many, but finally, you will begin to be respected. For when you are no longer available for every trifle, you become invaluable, rare, and utterly unforgettable. And make no mistake, this is a rebirth. A fresh beginning's a dawn of a life where you no longer settle for emotional crumbs, for manipulative games, for voids disguised as affection. Now, you will only accept what resonates with your peace, with your truth, with your wholeness. And if you have journeyed this far, it is because a part of you is already poised for this new trajectory. A part of you has already grasped that being loved means nothing if it necessitates self-abandonment, and that true self-love blossoms when you unequivocally choose yourself, even if it entails a period of solitude. Now, tell me in the comments, are you ready to be misunderstood, rejected, or even disliked in the pursuit of your inner freedom? Are you willing to pay the price of being authentically you? If this message resonated with you, if it sparked a realization, then write in the comments, "I choose my peace." Let's see how many of you are prepared for this profound transition. And remember, keep watching the next video. It holds significance far beyond what you might imagine. See you there.